Welcome to StantonMD and Everyday Medicine. I'm board-certified emergency physician Dr. Ryan Stanton. Today we have a great show. We'll start off with a behind-the-scenes look at airport safety. Then we'll find out why the training of future physicians is so important for retina care. After that, I have a sit-down interview with U.S. Representative Andy Barr at his office in Washington, D.C. about health care and politics. It's a huge issue and you'll definitely want to check that one out. We'll wrap up today with 5 tips for healthier living on handling the summer heat. That's all coming up, but we start off with fire training. U.S. aviation is some of the safest in the world. Very few realize that larger airports have their own fire and rescue departments with expertise geared towards life at the airport. With this comes specialized training on the responses that may be necessary on the airport. Not only do the men and women that work on site require unique training, so do those that may be responding to incidents around the area and from surrounding communities. I spent some time at the Bluegrass Airport with the training staff, learning some of the tools and training necessary to keep travelers safe. The Lexington Bluegrass Fire and Public Safety Team have the unique challenge of maintaining a safe environment in a strongly satisfaction-driven industry. They must prepare for the everyday challenges as well as the potential for things that we hope will never happen. Robert Hutchins is a sergeant with Airport Public Safety and speaks on the training involved in his job.
Currently, this year in 2016, we've kind of had a reinvigorated effort to conduct more physical hands-on training that kind of stretches our limits. So we've kind of really gone back to the basics and challenging things instead of having just classroom kind of continuing education, but to actually get more of the physical hands-on continuing education so that people can have a chance to utilize the skills that a lot of times in these types of environments, unfortunately, have to be placed on a shelf because they don't always have the opportunity to use those, which is a good thing. But by the same token, you know, when you need to use a pencil to write with one, you want it to be sharp. So the only way to do that is to try to enhance your training and have a very hands-on approach. And as I say, in 2016, here at Bluegrass Airport, we have made an upgraded effort in all 3 disciplines, police, fire, and EMS, to bring in more outside instructors and to basically conduct in more hands-on training.
The airport also faces the challenges of a combined influence and demands from local, state, and federal agencies. But Sergeant Hutchins notes that Bluegrass Airport has established strong working relationships with all involved.
Having those checks and balances, certainly there's FAA guidelines and regulations that are in place, and then there's the TSA component as well. And so they're testing us, we're kind of testing them, looking for and assessing how well, if it's in regard to security in particular, how well the security is being met. Certainly we have guidelines that we've written that the FAA has approved of a security plan of how we're basically going to operate. Then of course they send people to check, test, and inspect and see if we're kind of basically meeting the plan that we've set forth that meets the federal guidelines.
Public safety at Bluegrass Airport includes medical, police, and fire duties. The fire side of the department is very interesting in that a significant incident is incredibly rare, but when they do happen, they can be catastrophic with dozens of lives at risk. Carl Faulkner is the training coordinator for the Lexington Bluegrass Airport, and he talks about some of the challenges in airport fire preparedness.
Airport firefighting is a little bit different as we have a faster response time to the aircraft. We have to be at the aircraft within 3 minutes of the time we get the alarm. We go by mass application of the extinguishing agents out of these trucks. We carry a large amount of water with us, so we hope to get a quick knockdown on the fire. Plane crashes are, like you said, they are very rare. And they are very different because you're dealing with a mass casualty incident, whether it be 4 people on board or 180 people on board, 130 on an MD-80. So you're walking into a situation that it is life-changing.
As you can imagine, there are several obstacles that firefighting and safety must overcome when it comes to aviation. 2 of these challenges are getting water to a scene where there are no fire hydrants, and the airplanes may be carrying thousands of gallons of highly flammable fuel.
The FAA requires the airports to have so much water available and foam available to take care of the largest aircraft landing, which is 126 feet for our aircraft, our airport. So 126 feet is going to be the MD-80 or aircraft that size, regional jet, and that size of airplane. There's not a road or a fire hydrant either. That's why we have to carry a large amount of water with us. They're designed for the off-road capabilities for the ditches, whatever challenge you'd have getting through the aircraft. Which I can only remember one crashing on the runway. Here we've had several that lost their gear and collapsed, but our major incidents have been off the road runways. We carry 3,000 gallons of water with us on 2 trucks, 1,500 gallons of water on the other truck. Plus they all have foam on them, foam firefighting.
With these challenges, time is definitely of the essence. In order to get thousands of pounds of fuel, passengers, and baggage in the air, airplanes must be built of lightweight yet strong materials. Unlike many homes and buildings that can resist fire for an extended amount of time, airplane fuselage provides only a few minutes of protection from flames. That's why the firefighters must respond quickly, and their tools are designed for a quick attack.
There's 3 minutes is what their estimated time for a burn through the skin of the aircraft is 3 minutes. And it's up to the aircraft crew to get the people off the aircraft. These trucks are designed for one-man operation. So when we are fighting fire, we're doing it from inside the truck right here.
Thankfully, significant incidents in aviation are incredibly rare. In fact, it is consistently the safest mode of travel. So how do you stay prepared and train for something that you hope will never happen?
We work a 24, 48-hour shift. During that 24 hours, we do training 2 hours a day. We have subjects that the FAA requires us to cover: airport familiarization, aircraft familiarization, putting out fires with these trucks. They'll come to one of these. They'll come down here to the training center at least once a year to practice their skills.
Going inside the airplane is quite creepy. It's dark, and the thought of it being filled with flames quickly sets in.
So what you're going to notice here is that the shot's going to be pretty low. That's because the heat's going to roll up over the top. And then so we're actually going to have to end up being on the floor to get this shot because the heat's going to be so high coming across the ceiling. You'll see what I mean.
They put me through a couple of scenarios with fire in the cabin and then also fire in the cockpit. We sit there quietly when the area bursts into flames. We had to stay close to the floor because the buildup of heat is almost instantaneous with the cooler air down low. They then demonstrated how they would attack the fire. I can imagine in a similar situation in a real aircraft would be a scene of chaos. Carl and his team will often simulate this by filling the plane with dummies, luggage, and obstacles. One of the firefighters told me that their full annual course is incredibly intense and some of the hardest challenges he has faced.
As you can see, it gets really hot really fast. In fact, I think the temperature jumped up probably 50, 60 degrees while I was in there. It got so hot and humid that the camera started fogging up. So as they come down, we're going to start preparing to get the wing and the wheels here. So what it'd be like if the plane went down and the engine was on fire, the wing was on fire, that's where all the fuel is. And also the wheels and brakes does have a lot of heat. It'd be a good place for a fire to start, difficult place to put out. So they're going to show us now how they do it.
The wings and the engine are probably the highest possible risk with intense heat, moving parts, and thousands of pounds of highly flammable jet fuel. The key for the response team is to control and extinguish the fire, but more importantly, preventing the fuel in the wings from becoming involved.
They're called to protect the exposure. That's where all the fuel is going to be located, in the wing or underneath the body of the fuselage. So what they do is they'll fight the fire, and then they'll cool the wing, fight the fire, cool the wing. That way, you got that 3-minute burn-through time on the skin of the aircraft to try to prevent that fuel from wing from rupturing and spilling all the fuel.
So we've started some fires, we put out some fires. Now, nothing left to do but clean up the mess. What we do have now is a lot of respect for the men here at the Lexington Bluegrass Airport Fire Department for the work they do, being ready to help protect us as we go our different ways and travel. They're there every single day, ready to respond in their time of need. I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and this is some StantonMD.
The men and women of Bluegrass Airport, as well as surrounding communities, train hard to be ready for incidents that may take place at the airport. It is through this training that they will be ready in the time of need. More StantonMD coming up.
Justice Dental provides world-class dentistry with a hand-picked team of doctors, hygienists, surgeons, and specialists that work together to create natural, beautiful, and healthy smiles. Realizing that oral health is key to overall health, Justice Dental provides everything from preventive dentistry to full mouth reconstruction, ensuring your smile will last a lifetime.
At Justice Dental, we want to do your smile justice.
So here's what happens when you're at a shoot and your wife shows up. First question to me, of course, is my insurance up to date? I don't know. We'll see.
As a board-certified emergency physician, Dr. Stanton is a proud member of the American College of Emergency Physicians, also known as ACEP. ACEP provides physician and evidence-based patient resources at its consumer website, emergencycare4u.org. That site has stories, fact sheets, and advice on a wide range of emergency topics. From visiting the ER to mom tips, you can find them on emergencycare4u.org. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. All of us go to doctors at some point, sometime or the other. Occasionally, we'll see a physician in training. Whether it's a student, resident, or fellow, hands-on training is integral to the future of medicine. It may give you a little bit more TLC and focus that wouldn't have occurred at the average practice. Retina Associates of Kentucky works with the University of Kentucky in a joint fellowship program to help train future retina specialists. I had the opportunity to talk with Dr. Wood, founder of Retina Associates, on why education is an integral part of their practice, and with Dr. Lee, their current fellow, on how his training will help him with his future as a retina surgeon. It's a simple fact that doctors aren't born doctors. Becoming a board-certified physician requires years of training and dedication, from college, medical school, residency, and finally fellowship training. Many doctors won't have a full-time paying job until their mid-30s. At Retina Associates, they have a long history of training future retina physicians.
Our fellowship program has been offered for 20 years. We offer this to fully trained, board-eligible ophthalmologists who are eligible to perform surgery and to see patients now, but even though they finish this extensive training, they join us for either a 1 or 2 year postgraduate fellowship training program, learning more about diseases and surgery of the retina, macula, and vitreous.
You may ask, what is a fellow, and what is the day like for a licensed physician in fellowship training?
So a fellow is someone who's completed their ophthalmology residency. So they've gone through 4 years of medical school, they've gone through 4 years of ophthalmology residency as well. So they're essentially a fully trained general ophthalmologist, and then they're doing additional subspecialty training to get more specific training in retinal diseases and retina surgery. My day as a fellow consists of coming to clinic or to the operating room, depending on what the day is composed of, assisting in surgery or assisting in the clinic, handling emergencies, helping patients with phone calls, questions that they have, sort of filling in a lot of gaps and acting as an extender and smoothing out the day for the physicians that I work with, because a lot of times there's other things that happen that necessarily they don't need to deal with but are beyond the ability of some of the staff and need some more medical background, and so I'm able to fill in those gaps and help out where I need to.
As a physician myself, I often hear people complain about having to see a trainee in the emergency department, hospital, or clinic. What most people don't realize is that training provides several benefits for the patient and the physicians.
We enjoy teaching, we enjoy having the fellows, and the patients get exposed to different people examining them, asking them different questions, and we have a chance to explore many more differential diagnoses and current treatments and controversial areas than otherwise these patients would have an opportunity to be evaluated with. So this fellowship program really is beneficial to the patient and to the fellow and to us.
Fellowship training in retina surgery isn't for the slouch of the class. The fellowship process is incredibly competitive and reserved for some of the best medicine has to offer.
A couple places in the country that have a blend of a university practice as well as a private practice, and so the benefit here is you get a little bit of the private practice world, and you get to see a lot of patients, and then also see how a practice would function in that kind of private practice setting. You see some different diseases at the university as well as you do here, and I think the benefit is you really get to see both worlds, because we've been in the academic world for all of residency and medical school, and so to be able to see what real practice looks like in an actual environment of how you want to practice in the future, it's helpful to see that.
Next time you're at the office, hospital, or an ER and find out that someone is training as part of your care, realize that you're getting some of the best and most cutting-edge care from the future of medicine, and honestly, some of the educators that make it possible. More StantonMD coming right up.
Do you own or work for a business that advances health and safety of the public or its employees? Then you may be interested in becoming a sponsor of StantonMD. There are various opportunities for sponsorship, from the show to the website, social media, print, or a combination. For more information on becoming part of StantonMD, contact Jen at info@StantonMD.com. That's info@StantonMD.com. Now, back to the show. With over 40 years of service, Retina Associates of Kentucky provides care for disorders of the retina, macula, and vitreous structures of the eye. Their goal is to provide the best possible care in a compassionate, personalized, and timely manner. This is accomplished through a comprehensive, state-of-the-art mix of diagnostics, medical, and surgical services. They have 10 offices throughout the Bluegrass. Visit retinaky.com.
Welcome back. Politics is an ever-present part of our daily lives. Whether you like it or not, Americans have become increasingly frustrated with the partisan games that are commonplace on the state and federal level. Healthcare has become one of the main focuses of politics. Whether it's the ACA, insurance, regulations, or healthcare laws, politics and our health are always around the top of the list of voter interest. This interest will continue to grow as our population ages and healthcare becomes a larger and larger slice of the government budget pie. I had the chance to sit down with Kentucky 6th District Representative Andy Barr in his office in Washington, D.C. to talk about healthcare and politics. Dr. Ryan Stanton here in Washington, D.C. in the Longworth House Office Building. I'm talking today with Andy Barr, Representative 6th District in Central Kentucky. And we want to talk today because we're friends and we've spent a lot of time talking about healthcare. And that's what we want to talk about today is politics and healthcare. Clearly something that's been growing significantly over the years. It's becoming more of an issue as we become carved out more and more of the GDP every year. So give us a little idea of your experiences and how you became interested in the healthcare aspect of legislation.
Well, as you know, Doctor, healthcare represents about 1/6 or 1/5 of the entire gross domestic product of our country. So it's a critical issue for families, but also for our economy and for the government of the United States. And I regret that politics has become so integrated with healthcare. I know that for you and other healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, physician assistants, hospital administrators, that you got into the business of delivering healthcare because you were called to healing. You were called to helping people. You weren't necessarily called into politics. But the fact of the matter is the government is a substantial payer of healthcare in this country. And as a result, the decisions that are made in Frankfurt and obviously here in Washington, whether in Congress or at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, those decisions have an enormous impact on providers and on patients. And so we have to get involved to be advocates for you as a provider, for physicians, for nurses, for hospital administrators, and especially for our patients, the constituents of the 6th Congressional District. And on a personal note, my family, like so many other families, have been the beneficiaries of wonderful care from doctors and nurses in hospitals. My sister has lived her entire life with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. She's had dozens of surgeries. We've had great orthopedic surgeons. We've had great anesthesiologists, rheumatologists, and we're very blessed to know that there are great physicians and healthcare providers out there who improve the lives of so many of our constituents, my family included.
Now, one thing that recently has been going on, and we recently had an interview, a two-part interview with an opioid addict. She's now recovered, 10 years out, and clean, and that's a huge issue in our area, Central Kentucky, and especially the Appalachian region. Something that's probably one of the greatest man-made drug epidemics in the U.S. history. Now, recently, you guys have had a lot of talks up here, things to start to address that from a legislative standpoint, from the emergency medicine folks that have been here the last couple of days. That's something we've wanted to take on because it's something we see so much in the emergency department. Where do you see it going in terms of the efforts here in Washington to help alleviate the pressure of the opioid abuse crisis?
Well, certainly in my 3.5 years in Congress, I've heard from my constituents, law enforcement, the judicial branch, the nonprofits who are involved in drug treatment and recovery programs, the education system. We have an epidemic in central and eastern Kentucky and all around this country, an epidemic of drug abuse, an epidemic of opioid and heroin abuse. And in fact, in Kentucky, the problem is particularly acute. We have the third highest overdose mortality rate in the country. And in my hometown of Lexington, Kentucky, we've seen a huge jump in heroin-related overdose deaths. I know you're on the front lines of this. As an emergency physician, you see it all the time in Kentucky. And so we responded to that, especially when you hear heartbreaking stories from fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters of loved ones who have fallen prey to this addiction problem. So we invited the director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy to the Hope Center in Lexington to talk to us and to people in the education, prevention, law enforcement, judicial branch, drug courts, and the treatment folks, and also the emergency room people, and then also the recovery people, and talk about these issues, about what are the best practices to combat this problem. What came out of that was the 6th Congressional District Drug Abuse Task Force, where experts from all of these different fields came together and made recommendations to us. We brought those ideas back to Washington. Fortunately, last week we were able to vote on a series of bills to address the opioid and heroin crisis in this country, ranging from NAS, neonatal abstinence syndrome issues, to the need for more money for residential treatment issues, to the access for first responders to Narcan and naloxone, and other potential solutions to this problem, multidisciplinary solutions to this problem, drug courts and the like. So we passed those bills. Many of those brought to bear some of the solutions that were recommended to us by our own task force. And we were able to actually include in the NAS bill, the bill that deals with this neonatal abstinence syndrome problem, where babies are born to mothers who unfortunately were addicted to opioids during pregnancy. A recommendation from a University of Kentucky pediatrician, Dr. Henrietta Bada-Elzy. And we're going to have a federal study to examine best practices and what kind of treatment options are available to neonatal healthcare providers and also obstetricians and pediatricians to treat NAS most effectively, so that we can then communicate to all of those professionals what works in helping these innocent victims of NAS actually move on and achieve their potential and health once again. So we're very excited that we were able to take this first step, but I would just caution that passing a law or passing bills is not the ultimate answer. I mean, this is too big of a problem in our country. We need the institutions of private society. We need doctors. We need healthcare professionals. We need the nonprofit community. We need the faith-based community. We all need to work together, because this problem can't be solved just through one piece of legislation.
And that's it. As people, we've talked about it before on the program, that it's pervasive through every level of our communities now. And whether you have a family member, a neighbor, a friend that has been touched by opioid addiction, it will touch you, whether it's through community services, whether it's access to care, whether it's through your pocketbook with the costs associated. The antidote medicine, Narcan, has, over the last 15, 16 years, has multiplied by 18 times in its cost. So the cities are they're having a huge crisis with getting these medications available. And I'd imagine, and our concern a lot now in the EMS and emergency medicine community is that we may face a shortage there. So there is a lot to do. As a viewer, I want you to make sure that you learn as much as you can, whether it's the stories of the victims, whether it's the costs associated with the challenges, and get involved in helping through getting us through this, because it's going to change. It's going to have a lot of change when it comes to the practicing guidelines that we use to actually give opioids in the emergency department and throughout healthcare. Also, the recovery resources that are available, which is the main issue. We're not going to fix the problem until we remove people from the problem. All we're going to do then is change the substance, which is what we've done now with the heroin aspect of things, and also understanding what we can do as communities, large and small, to help take care of these folks. Representative, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Great to be with you, as always, and thanks to the American College of Emergency Physicians and all that you all do.
We'll keep up the good fight. And thank you. Stay with us. More StantonMD coming right up. Now it's time for 5 tips for healthier living. Today we want to talk about surviving the summer heat. In the middle of summer, the heat is on, and this means that you're at potential risk for heat-related illnesses. It's through awareness and preparation that you can protect yourself, your family, and those around you. Number 1, stay hydrated. This seems obvious, but it's one of the most important things you can do. Hydration is key for the body to be able to cope with heat exposure. This means hydration before outdoor activities and drinking plenty of water or other rehydrating beverage throughout your activities. Number 2, take plenty of breaks out of the sun. Ideally, you want to get into an air-conditioned environment so you can cool off, but you need to at least have some time in the shade and out of the sun so your body can dissipate some of that heat. This is also a great time to work on that hydration. Number 3, protect your skin. Skin cancer is the most common type of cancer in our country. It can be prevented with the use of proper sunscreen as well as clothing that covers all parts of the body. You want to make sure that everything is covered, especially the ears, nose, face, lips, and shoulders. These are places that are more sensitive to direct sun and where we see many of the cases of cancer. Number 4, avoid the hottest part of the day. The summer is a great time to get work done early and late. Long days means it's light outside, and you should try to take advantage of those early morning hours and late evening hours as well to get work done when the sun is not directly in your face and the temperatures are cooler. Finally, take a day off. If it's really hot and humid outside, it may be best to take the day off or work on some inside jobs. This is especially true if you're elderly or have chronic medical conditions that may put you at increased risk. It doesn't take very long on a hot summer day for someone with heart trouble or an elevated blood pressure or on blood pressure medications to get in serious trouble. The heat is on, and you need to take the necessary steps to protect yourself and those around you. That's all the time we have for this week on StantonMD and Everyday Medicine. You can get more information about the show and today's segments at our website, StantonMD.com. It's a great way to stay informed and watch your favorite segments again. Also, join the conversation on social media with StantonMD Facebook page and at EverydayMed on Twitter. Until next time, I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and you've been enjoying StantonMD.